So I'm digging deep into the prophets and the predictions, and I want to find out what's out there that we haven't heard of, and I came up with some. Yeah, and I wanted to start comparing them. So I loaded up a ton of research about these amazing prophets that you probably haven't heard of. And what did I want to find out? What did they see our future like? The different centuries. Is it inevitable that we will implode on ourselves, that we'll be decimated? And well, I'll give you that answer. You probably know that already if you've been on my channel. But here's what I want to share with you. A couple of things. It's going to be a two-parter because we're going to dig deep into what they saw happening, the actual predictions they made, and also what they saw happening right now because all of them came to the same conclusion. It happens to be going on right now. The big spiritual shift, the divide, the dissolving of that 3D world, the 3D, let's just say, players fighting to keep it, and those who are transitioning beyond it and going into peace. That could be you. I'm going to talk today about how that happens, but I'm also going to cover another subject, probably in video too, and that is who are these supposed aliens or other beings coming to our planet? There are things being revealed right now about what's on the moon, who's coming to visit, what are all these things? It's all part of the same thing. And it's all going to start being revealed more and more here this year and ongoing. So get ready for some really cool new information. And let's lighten up today. Let's go. Welcome to Landria Onkka on YouTube, here to help you break through fears and live an amazing life. By the way, all the things that I promote, that's what I do for a living, and I'm promoting things that'll make your life better. So let's start being the consumers in the world we want to live in. We're going to talk about that today because there is a world that exists right now. And as I shared with you in my last video, Federico Faggin, who was the creator of the microchip, our phones and everything, went into a state of awakening and understood how the universe works. And what he said is everything is connected and under our control. We are rendering existing realities. In other words, every possible scenario already exists. You don't have to create it. You just have to focus on it and it appears. Yeah, we're going to go more into that because that is the key of this video today. Because no matter what prophet or prediction says our future looks like, you and I have full control over it. But what are we going to choose? Now, here's the good part. You're going to love this. Just because the majority of people choose something, let's say, less than pleasant, doesn't mean that you have to or that you have to experience it. Yes, it'll challenge you, and we'll talk about how that works. We're being challenged. We always will be. And this is what we're going to find out today with these new prophets and predictions is what are we? Why do we continue to struggle? There is purpose behind all of it. So let me get straight into it because you want to know all the probabilities and also that it doesn't have to be a disastrous ending. So we have 5 prophecies, 5 visionaries. They all said ultimately the same thing. And then we're going to talk about these beings that are coming back, supposed abductions. Why is that all going on? What if it's the future us from a probability that didn't turn out so well? That they're warning us and getting us prepared for a future that doesn't have to happen. And a lot of that has to do with AI because when we let it take over too much, we stop becoming the community that you and I are creating right now. So don't stop your efforts, my friend. We can change the future. No matter what you think about AI and everything else, you and I are in the driver's seat. So 5 visionaries, different centuries, different continents, different belief systems, and they all pointed to the same moment in history. So we'll talk about, I'm going to include Baba Vanga, the Bulgarian mystic. She went blind at 12. She predicted 9/11. We're going to talk about a Bavarian blacksmith who saw World War III in visions in the 1940s. We're going to talk about a 19th century Indian master who mapped the cycles of human consciousness. A Lakota holy man who was shown the fate of the sacred hoop of all nations, and an Irish saint whose prophecy about the popes has now by most interpretations, reached its final entry. So when he listed who was going to be Pope, guess what? What happens when that final Pope comes into place? That's now. And today I'm going to show you the five things that they all agreed on. Because when this many independent voices align this clearly, we need to pay attention. So now, before we get into the predictions themselves, let me give you a quick picture of each of these sources, because the diversity here is actually what makes the overlap so powerful. So Baba Vanga, she lost her sight in a storm as a child. She reportedly gained the ability to foresee future events. She lived until 1996 and then left behind an enormous body of attributed predictions. Everything from geopolitical upheaval to artificial intelligence, that was one of her big warnings, to medical breakthroughs. Now, and I want to be honest with you, not all attributed Vanga predictions are verified, but the patterns in what's consistently attributed to her are fascinating. I'm going to include those. So here are some new ones that I've never heard of, but I researched them. Alois Irlmaier. Probably really messed that up. This is someone you may never heard of. A Bavarian well digger and psychic who lived from 1894 to 1959. He had visions of a massive European conflict, a Third World War scenario, followed by a period of spiritual renewal. We keep hearing about this. What is that Third World War? Well, we haven't really touched on that yet, but we're going to go dig deeper into that. His descriptions of societal breakdown and conflict as precursors to transformation are very specific. Okay? So he saw the same thing: turmoil, wars, and then the transformation, the breakdown and transformation. Now we're going to go to Sri Sri Yukteswar, an Indian sage. I'm sure I messed that up. It'll print up here for you. An Indian sage born in 1855, teacher of Yogananda, the man who brought yoga to the West. Yukteswar gave us the yugas, the cosmic cycles of consciousness. His framework isn't about disaster, it's about evolution, and he is by far the most optimistic of the five. I want you to remember that. So who's right, who's wrong? They're all renderings. As Frederic Vagin would say, what are renderings? They're all probabilities, and all of them are possible for us. We get to choose any one of these. Black elk. Whew, thank goodness for an easier one. A holy man of the Oglala Lakota people. Born in 1863, he experienced a profound vision as a child that showed him both the destruction and the potential healing of what he called the sacred hoop of all nations. Potential healing. His warnings about humanity's separation from nature and spirit are some of the most poignant words I've ever read. Here we go. If we don't treat nature well, we're in trouble. Saint Malachy, a 12th century Irish bishop and prophet. In 1139, he reportedly received a vision and wrote down a list of 112 cryptic Latin mottos, one for each remaining pope. We are now at the end of that list. Many scholars place us at the final pope described in his prophecy. Whether you accept the prophecy or not, the timing is something to sit with. Now, here's what I want to focus on today. Not the differences, not the doom. What I want to show you is the five things they all agreed on, because this pattern tells us something very important about where we're going right now, and most importantly, what we're meant to do about it. Not another slew of predictions that we're going to say, oh boy, buckle up. It's what are we supposed to do about it? We're going to emphasize that over and over again. You and I are changing it. I feel that it's changing. Still going to be challenged. So let's talk about the current system cannot continue. Prediction number one, this is unanimous. Every single one of these sources, in their own language, from their own cultural lens, said the same thing. The way we are living right now cannot continue. It cannot. Why? Because if we continue, we end ourselves. So it won't continue. Now, let's be honest. This isn't prophecy unique to these five. You feel it, don't you? But here's what's interesting. None of them said the world ends. None of them said the world ends. That's not the message. Irlmaier said societal systems breaking down, not as a finale, as a reset. Breaking down. I've talked to you before about this. You cannot build a new structure Unless you take down the old one and everything, all the rubble, then you have a solid foundation. It has to happen. We're in that phase right now. Malachi's final prophecy describes a culmination, the end of an era, not the end of existence, the end of an era. You and I are in it. So I know it's like, why do I have to live through this? Well, it could be one of the most amazing times of your life. You might get to see, if you participate in it, it's your individual choice, something so beautiful and magical that you didn't know we were. And we're going to discover things about ourselves from history to maybe the Hall of Records. Hopefully all these things will be revealed if we get our act together and raise our frequency. This will be revealed. That will be so amazing and beautiful. It's going to change the entire planet and how you think of yourself. You're going to be able to start using all those powers that you hold right now. So this is not the end of the planet. Black Elk warned specifically about humanity's disconnection from natural law. He didn't say we were doomed. He said we were at a crossroads, right? Hopi showed that also. There were two ways. Baba Vanga's attributed predictions consistently point to major disruptions, but they transition into a transformed world, not an absent one. Start relaxing. Just focus on what you can do to change and be part of that. And Yukteswar, I'm messing that up. He said we periodically move between ages of lower and higher consciousness. Nobody gets away from that, not even Christ. A yuga cycle ending isn't the end of humanity. It's the end of one way of being human. Isn't that great? Because I don't know about you, but I don't think this one way is so great. It's very painful, isn't it? Especially those of you who are animal and planet lovers, nature lovers. So when you look at what's happening in the world right now, the economic instability, that's going to, by the way, continue. I'm pulling out of it. I'm pulling out of the system. It's very uncomfortable, because you get ranked by all these things that you're supposed to do that are really not good for us. So those of you who start to buck the system, do it carefully, but just know that it's all going to change anyways. The political structure is fracturing. That's already happening. The cultural uncertainty, I want you to see it through this lens. This isn't the end of the story. It's the end of a chapter. Big difference. I want you to remember that. So here's the prediction number 2. Humanity reaches a choice point. Prediction number 2, if you've been following this channel for any length of time, this one is going to sound very familiar to you. Every single one of these visionaries described a choice point. We're at the choice point, right? It's in my book. I tell you, the tipping point, we're in it. We are well in it now. When I wrote that book, we were going into it. Now you're in the tipping point. That means we've gone over into no return. So you're in it. Sink or swim, it's never been more true. Dolores Cannon called it the timeline split. Edgar Cayce pointed to it. The book of Revelation implies it. But here's what's incredible. Black Elk, Yukteswar, and Baba Vanga all described this independent of those sources. They didn't read it. They didn't know it. Half those people weren't born at the same time. Black Elk's teachings specifically describe a crossroads between a destructive path and a harmonious path. The Hopi, right? It's on their walls, it's on their caves, it's on their rocks. He didn't say humanity was fated for one or the other. He described it as a choice. Remember this, whenever you see this destruction and anybody tells you they remote view something, they're only showing you one choice. So many of you see this and then you go to bed disturbed and you have these horrible dreams and you feel depressed and you wonder why. You are focusing on one outcome, which means you are actually facilitating it. But the quantum field says that which you observe, you actually entangle with and create. If you believe it, and even if you don't believe it, the fact that you're focusing on this, shut down the media, the negative media, and fill yourself with that which is giving you the power to make these choices, that which is positive and creative and expansive. Yukteswar's age cycle framework implies that as humanity enters a higher age, we can either align with the rising consciousness or resist it. Both options are available. The outcome depends on which we choose, and there are going to be a great number of people on the planet. Supposedly there's a 90-10. By the way, somebody asked me, what's the 90-10, 10 will, become enlightened and 90% are going to go down with the ship. So there's no ending for them. They're just going to leave on a lower frequency and have to go, you know, learn from it and move on to something and maybe struggle and suffer a little bit more. But you have the opportunity to not do that. That's the whole point of planet Earth. It's the big teaching planet, the toughest one in the universe. So we have to take advantage of that. So not many people are actually going to choose it because they really don't want to do it. They're so attached to the material world that they're going to stay here. They want to experience the material things and getting stuff and power. It's just this whole ego thing that they want to stay in. We are not here to judge that. Make sure you don't, because you're saying we're right, they're wrong. You're no different than them saying we're wrong and they're right. Division and separation, don't go there. All right. So Baba Vanka's attributed forecast suggests a period which many modern interpreters place right now where human choices around technology, power, how we treat each other become decisive. She especially talked about technology. Now I'm going to talk later on about our visitors, people who've been abducted. There's two things that are prominent in the message. Why are they taking egg and sperm and experimenting on us? To save us, to save our future. So some people believe that they are our future, and that's why they're sort of, not male or female. They don't function the same way because technology was allowed to take over to the point where they didn't have to do anything anymore, and it wasn't a good thing. They lost their emotions also. You've heard that before. We're going to talk more about that. We're going to start to discover a lot of those things. So if we don't get our act together here, that future is not going to change. And then, of course, there's the other theory that they are beings from other planets who've experienced that and wanting to access, of course, our ability to procreate. I don't have those answers, but we're going to go deeper into that because this is the turning point where that is either going to happen or not, or we're going to find out what doesn't work out there from other scenarios and other planets. I'm going to really dig deep into that. So here's what quantum science says about this. And this is the piece I love. Anything that they see, any probability line is one probability of endless ones. This is true. How do I know it's true? Source is all things. Source isn't limited. Source is endless, cannot be created nor destroyed. Source is all things. It didn't create something and you're separate. You are it. You're an extension of it, which means it has no limitations, which means it can do anything, which means everything's possible. Miracles. Ask for one and then step back and watch. Any probability line is possible. One probability of endless ones is happening right now, and we can shift it any way we want. And every little thing you do shifts it just slightly. We either hit that island we're shooting for, or we're off just a little bit. We never saw it, and we're off in the boonies. And we're choosing which one we bring into our reality through our focus. It's all about your focus, your behavior, your thoughts, your beliefs. Catch those. If you guys saw the one about judgment, I thought, oh, I was doing some good things. And it was pointed out to me that it's actually comes off like complaining. And I didn't see it that way. That, oh, I'm just trying to improve something. It's like, no, it actually came off that I wasn't very grateful and that I was complaining. It was a work thing. And I thought, oh my God, that is how it's being perceived. Even if you don't mean it, you have to be cognizant, because if it's a lower frequency, then you flip that thought around and say, I'm glad I have this. I'm glad for those people. I'm glad for this situation. And then everything turns around for you. And it did for me. It really, really showed me that we can always improve. We're choosing which one we bring into our reality through our focus, because a wave, a probability, turns into a particle with your focus, because you're an intelligent co-creator. Not necessarily what we want on the surface, what we truly believe. So this law of attraction, I want this, and then you're turning around with negative thoughts and criticizing, you're wrong and whatever. The minute you tell somebody you're wrong, you've separated yourself in a low frequency. You're in the basement. The penthouse can't get in the penthouse that way. Nobody wants you in the penthouse, right? Nobody wants a complainer. The choice point isn't just global, it's personal. You're choosing a timeline right now with every thought, with every belief, with every story you tell yourself about what's possible. Do you feel it? Prediction number three. This is one I have to be honest, stopped me in my tracks when I first put these sources together. Technology accelerates the change, and Baba Vanga is the most explicit here. Among the predictions, and this is where we talk about is that our future visiting us in craft, getting samples because they're dying off because we made bad decisions here. It's one theory. It's not so crazy. Among the predictions, consistently attributed to her are artificial intelligence, human technology advancement, new forms of communication, and medical breakthroughs. This from a woman who lived most of her life in the 20th century, Bulgaria. All right, so there was no, I don't, we didn't even have computers and definitely not internet, when she was around. So Yukteswar didn't discuss modern technology directly. He was writing in the 1880s, but here's what he did say, that as consciousness rises, humanity unlocks greater understanding of natural laws. So I believe that's the powers, the intuition, the psychic powers, natural laws communicating with other things, that they're all intelligent. He described a progression where the veil between the seen and unseen world thins, where science and spirit begin to converge. We will communicate with the power that is in this room. The consciousness is always present, not separate. It's in all things. But if you put a veil on and you aren't watching it, you can't communicate with it, right? Does that sound familiar? So today we have AI, biotechnology, quantum research, reshaping civilization at a speed that, let's be honest, no one in conventional science fully predicted even 20 years ago, even a few years ago. Quantum coherence research, the observer effect in physics. Federico Fagin, the inventor of the microprocessor, now saying that consciousness is the fundamental substrate of reality. And this is a guy who was a pure materialist and he couldn't make it work. When he had his awakening and he had a light that emitted from his chest, he actually talks about this. He's still alive. I've seen him on podcasts. And he connected to all things in a way that can't be described. He realized what we were and he completely changed everything. Now he brought science into that spirituality, realizing it's all one thing. Very cool guy. If you don't know who he is, go check him out. So he's a little, talks a little bit deep in the science world, but definitely worth watching. So here's what I want you to sit with. Technology is not separate from the spiritual shift. It's part of it. Nothing's separate. Nothing is. So the tools we're being given right now, including the ones for self-understanding and manifestation, are part of the accelerated change. You don't need a computer. You don't need anything. You can sit right here and absolutely control your reality and what you bring into your life, provided you don't infringe on somebody else's free will. I must have Bob as my lover. Bob will love me. And Bob's going, I so don't want you, can't do it. All right. Because that's ego. You have to come from the higher frequency. And when you do that, stuff will show up that'll blow your mind. So this is why it's so important for you to do that. All these things you want in your life, go into high frequency and they'll start popping up. But here's the beauty of that. You don't really need it anymore to be happy. But it sure makes life a little easier. So this is part of the accelerated change. They can be used to separate and control, or they can be used to liberate and unify. And that, again, comes back to the choice point. So you can be at a low frequency and manifest unbelievable things. We know a lot of people who are doing that. So prediction number 4, spiritual awakening follows the turmoil. Okay, I really want you to hear this one because this might be the most important of the 5. Every single one of these visionaries, not some of them, all 5, described a spiritual awakening that follows the period of turmoil. We're in the period of turmoil. In fact, we're just ramping up. Get ready. We're just ramping up. And I think you feel it, right? Things can't stay this way. The crisis is not the destination. The crisis is the catalyst. Black Elk described a return to sacred relationship with the earth. Yes! Not as a nostalgic look backward, but as a quantum leap forward into a more conscious way of living. And so when I send you down in my description to support those businesses down there, I'm not being a salesperson. I'm helping you to make higher choices. These are all the things that I use, and we must switch over. It's better for your body, it's better for the planet. It helps those businesses, and we have to support that world. So make a choice, a higher choice in every area of your life. Yukteswar described higher consciousness becoming more available to more people as the age progresses, because that expansive space, that energy fields, it affects everybody. So you going into love and no more judgment, you go into a space of light that affects everyone. They feel it, but they still get to make their own choices. It's not something you have to chase. It becomes more accessible as the energetic environment shifts. All right? Irlmaier, the most dramatically dire of the five in terms of the conflict he foresaw, still described a period of spiritual renewal on the other side. Crisis first, then renewal, not destruction. Malachi's final prophecy describes a transition after institutional crisis, the structures that humanity has used to understand the divine. The old frameworks, the rigid dogmas, they complete a cycle and something new can emerge. Bye bye. What kind of church doesn't allow everybody in? That's crazy. Baba Vanga's attributed visions consistently describe a transformed humanity emerging from challenges, not destroyed by them. Emerging from the challenges, changed, awakened. The challenge is what's going to get you to the higher frequency. And you're thinking, no, it's still this bad stuff's happening. Like, no, this is what you have to clear up. Just like me, when I was thinking, I'm saying these things, saying good stuff, and somebody said, stop complaining, joking. And I went, oh my God, is that what you think I'm doing? And I looked, read it, and I thought, yeah, that's what I'm doing. So we have to learn from these things and transform. I change it, man. I change. I'm out of it. That's all you have to do, because we're so patterned to act a certain way and do certain things that's totally acceptable in this world, right? So now you have to remember, we're not watching something happen to us. We're participating in something happening through us. This awakening, this shift in consciousness, it requires participants. All of us have to participate. Don't sit there and say, I want to get off this planet. You will. But boy, if you don't do your job, you're going to come back. I don't want to come back. Not in this. This awakening, this shift is in consciousness. It requires participants. It requires people who are willing to hold the higher frequency, even when the external world looks chaotic. And if you're watching that stuff, shut it down, because it can do a mind bend on you. That's your role. That's our mission. So I'm going to ask you right now, never lose sight of that beautiful reality. You and I will create it together. Don't lose your hope or your faith, because what comes after this transition is what every one of these five people across centuries and cultures agreed was worth it. Now we're going to go into prediction five, but before we do, I want to ask you something right now. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, because I go into these topics every week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you know there's somebody that needs to hear this message. Feel free to share them. Someone who's feeling the weight of everything that's shifting right now, maybe they just need to know they are in control, and even their small contribution is really contributing to the massive shift. Just a little bit, just shifting one negative thought. Please share this video with them. And of course, go down in my description if you want to join my private group every Sunday. We go in there for an hour or two and we have a live discussion. Let's go into community and go to a place where you can discuss this. So let's go into prediction number five. And then part two is going to go into where they disagree. And we're going to discuss that other space, what it is, who's visiting us. That's going to be in video two. So prediction number five, humanity becomes more unified. This is prediction. Prediction five, all five visionaries pointed toward greater interconnectedness, greater unity, a recognition that separation, the kind we've been living in, is not the natural state. Black Elk described it as the sacred hoop of all nations, a restored wholeness. Not one culture dominating others, but all peoples finding their place in the circle. Isn't that beautiful? And it can happen now. It can. Just because these other things are going on doesn't mean you cannot be a part of that world. Yukteswar, Sure, I'm messing that. Taught that as consciousness rises, humanity evolves toward recognition of deeper unity. The divisions we see as permanent, they're actually symptoms of a lower level of awareness. As awareness rises, the divisions don't just soften, they become visible as illusions. So we're going, oh my gosh, this has all been lies. These are all manipulation. This is all distractions. Be careful. Oh, we're helping you find out about disclosure. It's a distraction. We don't need to know disclosure. We already have these answers right here. And then you get caught up in it. Disclosure of what? People that have always lied to us? There's aliens? Hey, McFly, known that for a while. Focus on you. Focus on raising frequency. Focus on creating, helping others, going to community, doing things in your business, in your personal life, in your creative life. Go paint, draw, sing, help elderly people, walk dogs. I don't care what it is. Shut down the garbage, even if they tell you that they're helping you. If it has any fear in it at all, shut her down. So, Baba Vanka's interpreters consistently point to her vision of future global cooperation, a world where the changes we face are so universal, they actually force collaboration across borders and beliefs. So there may be things that happen that force collaboration. Things come together when, there's another threat. Some things may force us, events happening where we go, we have got to stop arguing because if we don't work together, we are going to kiss our behinds goodbye. All right. So now here's the quantum piece again, because they're all one thing. That's not philosophy. That is physics. Quantum entanglement, non-local consciousness. What's that? Non-local consciousness. It's all things. The observer effect. And by the way, it's immediate. There's no time lapse. Vagin's model of consciousness as a unified field. Every emerging scientific framework is pointing toward that. Yukteswar and Baba Vanga all said from their own vantage points, unity is not an ideal we're building toward. It's the reality we're returning to. The question is how much resistance we meet on the way there. Now, the second half of this video, I'm going to go into why and where they disagree, why it's actually good news. Where they disagree, why it's good news. Can you guess why it's good news? I'm going to ask you that. What do you think is happening? Do you believe we have control over our future? Do you believe that all probabilities exist and that we are the choice makers? Do you believe that these prophets were giving us warnings, not warnings of what is to be, but what will be if we don't choose and that we can choose? Because if you believe that, it is so. If you believe it's in stone, then you will live a life predicted by others because you believe it and you create it. Watch those remote viewers. Boy, they get a lot of views, but I don't believe a word of it. I don't. I believe they're seeing what they believe and what they know you want to hear because it's sensationalized, but it doesn't feel good, does it? This is all an illusion. It's a scenario. It's all made up. It's a play. Who do you want to be in that play? You can change the story. You're the writer, the director, the actor. You're all of it. You can rewrite the story. It starts today. What are you thinking? How are you living? I'll tell you what you're thinking. Tell me what your life's like. I'll tell you what you believe and think, what your patterns are. You can change it right now. Focus on that, my friend. So we're going to go into part two, where they disagree. I'm going to break all of that down. We're going to go into the other beings that are showing up. We got some crazy stuff going on out there. It's really not getting a lot of attention. I'm going to pull some of those headlines out that are pretty cool, that show that we're getting visited right now. Just signs saying we're here. And you can communicate with us anytime, but that we will not interfere in a negative way. All right? Not saying they all love us, whoever they are. We're going to dig a little deeper, but we're going to talk about the disagreement of these five prophets. Because, like remote viewers, right? All probabilities exist. You are whole and perfect, strong and powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. My book lays it out. So many of you have said you've read my book many times. It's so simple, isn't it? And it's so true. It was a download. And it frees you. It'll free you from this when you realize you are so much more and you have that power right now. Yes, because you're whole and perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, happy. Those are all really positive words. I'm sending you blessings, my friend, and I'll see you on Wednesday at 3 o'clock when I post it in part two. And I'm not sure what I'll do Friday. Maybe you need to give me some suggestions. I love to hear what you want because I love you. I'll see you in the next video. Namaste.